Hello, and thanks for joining me. My name is Matt, and I'm the CEO of one of the primary low-code companies called Appian. Low-code is my topic today, but I also want to talk about the changes in IT that have set up the low-code revolution, how the new expectations of IT are prompting the rise of certain technologies. In my opinion, low-code's prominence is a reaction to the changed expectations in IT departments, and so if you want to tell the story of low-code, you have to start with IT. I am a statistics nut and also a lifelong reader of The Economist. So I jumped at the chance recently to sponsor The Economist Intelligence Unit's latest study. They're doing it on a great topic. It's on the expectations of the IT department in the modern post-pandemic world. This is a topic that needs to be explored. You know, IT has been in my opinion, has been one of the heroes of the past 24 months. IT has saved businesses, it's saved jobs, it's preserved people's health, and it's scary to think what would have happened if we'd faced the plague of 2020 with the IT departments of 2010. Right? Imagine if we had far less cloud and far less capability to collaborate virtually. It would have been a different world. It would have been a lot more difficult. So IT has stood tall in the past 24 months. They've come through, they've allowed businesses to change and pivot and protected people. And with that has come new expectations. New standards are set and new burdens are given to IT. And this is one of the first serious studies that takes a look at that, and it looks at what now is being expected from your IT department. I don't have time to summarize all the findings. I strongly recommend you read it, and in many regards, they're sobering. But I want to highlight what I think is probably the primary trend that runs throughout the findings, and that is a tension between the multiple expectations that exist for IT. On the one hand, we expect IT to create more applications. We have a higher demand for applications than we have before. Backlogs are rising. In fact, the demand is spilling over such that we've got non-IT departments picking up more of the slack and writing more of the applications themselves than they used to. That's because of the depth of demand, the volume of demand on IT. At the same time, IT is also asked to improve their quality. In one of the strongest findings in the entire survey, fully 83% of respondents said that IT's apps need to be better to weather future shocks. So on the one hand, we want more applications, big backlogs spilling out into other departments. We need more applications. And on the other, the applications on a per unit basis need to be stronger. Well, those two things are contradictory. We're asking a lot of IT, and it's leading us into a trap. Right? I don't think we're going to have a good answer for that the way technology is progressing today. We need something new. And there are new technologies rising in response to this demand. In particular, low code is rising. And let me talk about low code for a second. Low code is a technology that allows organizations to respond faster to change. And the odds are pretty good that you hadn't heard of it 24 months ago, but that you have heard of it by now. That would be typical. A lot of professionals are in that group. Low code is more prominent now because it is a winning answer to the needs that are escalating on the IT department. IT departments need to provide cohesion. They need to bring together dispersed assets, and most of all, they need to provide change. Well, low code is rising as a means to deal with that, and the rise has been very fast. Look at some of the statistics here, some of these predictions. Forrester says that by the end of this year, 2021, 75% of development shops will use low-code platforms. Gartner predicts that 65% of app development will be low-code by 2024. Back in 2019, I predicted that most applications built in the new decade would be built on low-code worldwide. Now, I didn't know COVID was coming, and so in the end, that may prove to be an understatement. Let me stop actually and tell you what low code is. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, let's just have a quick primer on what is this thing low code and what are its elements that could help you achieve speed and these other priorities. Low code is a technology used by businesses to create new processes and applications. In the past, if you had built a new process or a new application, you would have done so with code. You would have programmed it, and coding is slow. So low code severely diminishes how much code you have to write. And in place of that, you could build the same application just as powerful, just as fully featured, but you do it with a drawing. You drew it with lines and boxes. It looks like a flowchart. And I've got a picture of one, a very simplified version of one, here on the slide on the left. You could see how a job first gets action A, and then it could be action B, and then if in the end it finishes. These actions comprise the way we handle a piece of work, and because work flows through the model, we call this model a workflow. Workflow is one of the most intuitive and human ways that a person can communicate to a computer. It's in fact so human that I might have used it if I were trying to communicate to my own team to explain what we should do in the future, how we should handle issues. This is a very human way of instructing a machine, and there's a couple of implications of that. One is that more people now can instruct machines than could have before. Now you don't need to be as qualified a programmer. You don't need to have as much training, or maybe the training is just simpler. It's become empowering for many people who wouldn't otherwise be able to program. That's one effect of the low-code concept, but in my opinion, it is not the most profound effect. Even more important than that is the way it multiplies the productivity of someone who already is a developer. After all, if a developer doesn't have to write as much code and coding is slow, then they can move a lot faster. And that's the fundamental thing to know about low code. That low code means high speed, and it means empowerment and acceleration for the developers you already have. Everything you do is going to be faster if you're doing it in low code. You can build applications much more quickly because you're just drawing a picture. It's very logical. You can modify the applications more quickly because the drawing makes sense, and you can come back and rearrange the lines or the boxes very intuitively. And it's even faster to execute an application once you have designed it. I believe that it is more than 10 times faster to build or change an application in low code than with traditional means. That belief has been repeatedly validated by external studies that have concluded it's somewhere in the teens, like 14 times as fast, or even high teens, like 19 times as fast. At Appian, we tend to say 10x because we don't want to sound too hyperbolic, but at any one of these rates, it's revolutionary. And this is the technology that solves that IT paradox we were talking about, where IT is expected to create more applications and simultaneously expected to create better applications. A technology like low code can actually facilitate that and then get us out of that problem. So the essence of low code is high speed. Low code is now becoming a platform, a change engine that gets a business all the way from discovering what processes they need to make all the way through creating and executing those processes. The low-code platform begins with workflow. That's the natural centerpiece because it's the most intuitive way for a person to instruct a machine. However, it also extends forward after you've designed the application into automation. You may have heard of automation. Automation is all the digital workers that you can delegate work to. So that includes robotic process automation, RPA, artificial intelligence, AI, intelligent document processing, and even business rules. Every one of those digital workers can do some work for you, and it can work side by side in conjunction with human beings who are also bringing their unique skills. Now, automation is a lot more powerful when you can route and collaborate work amongst these several workers. Instead of just giving a whole job to one type of worker and it won't be able to handle the exceptions, or it'll be unnecessarily expensive on the easy ones, it's a lot better to route and coordinate your work amongst many different types of workers. That's where workflow comes in. It's why workflow makes automation so much more valuable. Workflow also makes process mining more valuable. Now, you may not know about process mining. This is a relatively newer technology. Process mining examines usage logs of organizations to discover what patterns of behavior already exist amongst the workers. What actions are happening and in what sequence, and what takes too much time and what takes too much money, and is this the way the organization intended to handle its issues, or have we gone off in the wrong direction and we need to correct it? Needless to say, process mining is a great diagnostic tool that leads right into workflow. Process mining can tell you what's wrong, workflow can fix it. Process mining can tell you how actions are happening at the moment. Workflow can tell you how actions should happen in the future. And so taking that process mining finding and translating it into a workflow is a terrifically synergistic collaboration between two technologies. The flow from process mining to workflow to automation in totality, allowing an organization to go from discovering their processes to designing their processes to automating their processes, is an exceptionally powerful combination. I think in the near future, it won't even be possible for an organization to be a company representing just one part of this emerging platform. It won't be possible to be an RPA company standalone anymore, or a process mining company by itself. The world is coming to expect a combination of these technologies, partly because change is so important. We need the best change engine. And the best change engine begins with discovery, proceeds through design, and ends in automation. A change engine gets you all the way from the beginning to the end of making your new process. And that's what this low-code platform can do. Let me give you, before I stop, a few examples of low-code in action today. All three of these leading brands have recently done something important and powerful that showcases the power of low code. Johnson & Johnson has a new technology called True Match. It's for tailor-made implants, like a physical implant, like a replacement for a knee. In the past, a knee replacement would have been done by the doctor ordering a knee from a manufacturer in one of just a few basic styles. They would have said, I need an extra large knee in this case. What they wouldn't have done is come up with a perfect anatomical match for their patient. But that's what True Match is about. And low code facilitates the communication that has to happen between all the parties in order to allow for a custom manufactured, perfectly matched artificial implant to be developed. You have to communicate from the doctor to the patient to the manufacturer, the doctor to the manufacturer, and you have to have multiple back and forth communications during the course of this arrangement about how exactly the knee should work and function and be sized. That communication is now facilitated, and it's a demonstration of how low code has brought together dispersed parties and allowed them to behave in a coherent and unified way. It uses workflow, it also uses automation, and it reduces costs. It improves the patient experience and their quality of life, and it even reduces waiting times. This is an example of low code solving a modern problem by bringing people together. Pandora, next story. Pandora is one of the thousands of organizations that have used low code to weather the pandemic. When a new process becomes necessary, and often it becomes necessary suddenly due to an exogenous change, a new regulation, a strategy shift, a merger, a change in customer behavior, for whatever reason, when you need a new process quickly, low code may be the single best way to achieve that new process. Low code is intuitive, it's fast, it's scalable and industrial strength, and it brings together many different parties, like we saw in the Johnson & Johnson case. Pandora used low code in order to protect its employees and its customers. It monitored health. It guided access to facilities based on that. It tracked contact between different employees. At this point, every one of the thousands of employees at their US headquarters is using low code in order to maintain their safety and track possible outbreaks of the virus. And in so doing, they're one of, as I say, thousands of organizations that have relied on low code during this period. Finally, TELUS. TELUS is rolling out 5G to 10 million subscribers. And this is an example of using low code for an extremely industrial strength application. Low code creates powerful applications, scalable, and the equal of what you could have created with coding alone. In TELUS's case, they're unifying and replacing 5 applications. They're bringing together another 11 in integration. They're expecting 4 times the volume that on this new system than they ever got before. And they want to roll it out, they already did roll it out, in 12 weeks. The ability to create a scalable industrial strength application in just a quarter and have it meet all these requirements and consolidate all these systems and perform for customers, that's the power of these new low-code platforms and the way low-code is responding to the latest demands on the IT department. Thank you very much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.